We need to talk about Furnished Finder. We've been renting our home on Furnished Finder just shy of 4 years. I haven't really talked about our rental or Furnished Finder much on this channel recently, but I'm coming back with lessons that I've learned that I wanted to share, but I also have a lot of questions and I just want to put them out there for some help and advice if you have any. So if you have answers or you've experienced some of these things, please share in the comments. I could really use your tips. But I'm coming back today with 9 more lessons that I've learned renting our home on Furnished Finder. I posted this video about 3 years ago now, and I was really naive. I really just went into renting our home with not a ton of information. I was really new at being a landlord and I didn't really know what I know now, nearly 4 years later. And I just thought it's probably time to share an updated video. I have my notes again. I'm just gonna be sharing 9 more lessons I've learned. And like I said, I definitely have some questions because some of these lessons I'm kind of on the fence on, and I just want to hear your experience too. Let's just jump right into the video. The first lesson that I've learned 4 years later is, should I be renting to pet owners? And specifically, should I be renting to people with dogs? I have always allowed dogs in our home. We actually don't allow cats because I'm pretty allergic to cats, and because we have furniture in the house that's ours, we just wanted to avoid just getting the cat dander in there, because then I wouldn't be able to use that furniture again. So really it's just kind of like a personal preference. The reason this is my number 1 lesson is because I recently experienced kind of a negative outcome renting to people with pets. They had 2 dogs and I ended up having to replace pillows and blankets and a rug and an entire ottoman I had to toss out because it was just kind of like damp and soaked in dog pee, and there was a lot of dog waste in the yard that was left behind. That experience really left me feeling like I should no longer be renting to people who have dogs. I hadn't experienced this in the past. I have really typically had a pretty positive experience with people and dogs at our rental. They're super respectful. The house is always left really clean. This is the first time that I encountered just kind of a big mess to clean up afterwards. And once I got everything kind of picked up and back to like a rentable standard, like really clean and tidy, I have been really skeptical to allow people with dogs to rent our house. So yeah, let me know if you allow dogs and what your experiences have been. And it's kind of hard to go back. Like once you allow pets, it's really hard to get it back to a non-pet rental standard. Like there's scratches on the floor from paws and there's just you can tell that there have been pets there. And I'm a dog mom. I love my dog, so I understand wanting to be able to find a rental that you can bring your dog with you to. So but this is like where I'm on the fence and kind of undecided, and I don't know if moving forward I will allow pets. Currently as it stands, I've put a clause on our rental agreement that says dogs 40 pounds and under. So I don't know if maybe just because these dogs I rented to people who had 2 dogs, they were very large and they had a lot of hair, and I don't know if that's the reason. But yeah, let me know what your rules or standards are around renting to pet owners. I'm super curious what everybody else does. I think the downside to being a no pets allowed home is you're kind of getting rid of that whole pool of renters. Like there's just less people. If you're trying to keep your rental booked, I think it's a missed opportunity to not allow pets. But I don't know. Let me know what you think. So my second lesson is collect first and last month's rent and a refundable deposit. So by that I mean, upon signing the lease, collect first month's rent, last month's rent, non-refundable, and then collect a refundable deposit that will cover losses. So I think this is something that I learned a couple years back. We had some tenants just leave town and not pay out the rest of their lease. And they just said, keep the deposit. That should cover some of the rent loss. And at the time I had only been collecting about $500 deposits. and it's not very much when it comes to a deposit. So now I'm really strict about collecting first, last, and a deposit, especially with this experience with these pets where I had to replace like about $800 worth of items. The deposit really came in handy because I was able to dip into that. I rarely keep a deposit, but in this situation where I had like holes in my comforters and pillows that had been totally tore apart like they were dog toys, I definitely just had to replace these items. That's my second lesson. Always collect first and last month's rent so you're covered in the scenario that somebody decides to just break their lease and skip town, and then a refundable deposit in case there are damages that you need to cover. I will say check your local laws around deposits and things. I know Seattle just passed a no junk fee law that goes into effect, I believe, in July 2027. And I think this actually includes pet rent as well, which is something I'll have to consider if I just want to exclude allowing pets altogether, or if I'm gonna have to kind of just add that fee into the base rent costs and increase our rent. We've only ever increased rent by I think $200, and that was because we had a lot of the utility fees increase over the past several years, so we added that into the rent. But yeah, I don't know. Also, let me know if you're someone who is a landlord in Seattle and what your approach might be for that new junk fee situation. I'll have to look more into that and just kind of gain a better understanding of it. But it sounds like it's mainly to go after these like larger rental corporations who are charging a bunch of like hidden costs or hidden fees, which I don't really understand how you can have a hidden fee in a lease. If somebody's not reading that, I don't know. It's interesting. We'll see what happens there. Anyways, that's my second lesson, I guess. First, last, and a deposit should be pretty good to go. The third lesson, Furnished Finder is not just for traveling nurses. We've rented to professionals, people who had internships or short-term assignments at some of the tech companies in town, baseball players randomly, because they're actually employed by the major league team, but they're on the AAA team, and the major league doesn't actually pay for AAA players' housing. They only pay for the major league players, I guess. So that was a scenario that was not a traveling nurse. Retired parents who have wanted to be closer to their kids, people who are local and just kind of like in between homes. So yeah, lots of people are on Furnished Finder looking for housing. Okay. So this is a repeat tip. You always want to do a background check and know who's staying in your home. I know that I shared this in my first lessons video, but I use a website called KeyCheck, and it's great. Basically, you just put the potential tenants' email addresses in, then they get all of the information that they need to fill some stuff out, and they pay a fee, and then the reports come directly to me, so I can kind of like go through, read everything, and then approve or deny the tenant directly on that site. So that's been what I've used the whole time. I know there's other websites you can use, but KeyCheck has been my go-to. I also think that they are partnered with Furnished Finder in some way, because there's like some other legal services that they offer, but I only use them for background checks. So the other thing I started to do in addition to the background check is I will call references. I require proof of income so that I can just like kind of cross-reference their employment and their background check. And then I do a little internet sleuthing. So I will go on like LinkedIn and just kind of check their professional references and make sure that that coincides with what they're telling me. Just a little additional vetting to make sure that they are who they say they are and that they're not lying to you and that they'll be able to pay rent. Oh, I had a thought because I didn't write this down, but I think KeyCheck also has a service where you can create a lease online. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that you can kind of plug in your state and it'll kind of create this generic lease. I don't use that. And I highly recommend that you actually go to a real estate lawyer and get a template, like a lease template specific to your house that has all the correct legal terms and that you're not just kind of going off of what the internet is suggesting. The lease is your one protection, so I think it's super important that you get it right. Furnished Finder isn't really like Airbnb in the sense that there's no landlord protections kind of built in. That's why Airbnb is a lot more expensive. It has just a lot of landlord protections built into their platform where they cover you for things, damages, and like, I don't know. I've not used Airbnb because it is more expensive and the turnover rate is higher than I'd like. Well, and actually I think in Seattle you do need to have a rental license or something to rent out your house shorter than 30 days, which I don't have. And so I wouldn't use Airbnb anyway. But what I was saying is your lease is kind of like your one protection. Say there's a dispute and you go to court. The lease is going to be the thing that really protects you in any kind of dispute. And you don't want to have language in there that can be easily tossed out. I would recommend not using a generic lease online and actually going and having something legally specific to your home written up, especially for us smaller pa landlords. We don't have a legal department or a lot of money to fall back on. And so that's just the one thing that I think is super important to get right. Let's get to the next tip. Tip number 5 is, or I guess lesson. What are we calling these? Tips or lessons? I don't know. I got off on a tangent. Lesson number 5 is hire a professional if you need to. There are lots of things you can do yourself. We are very big on the whole DIY, fix it yourself kind of attitude because we don't like to spend a ton of money if we don't have to. And if there's a scenario where we can hire a professional and save our time, I think that is just so much more valuable to me than saving $100. There's kind of these two categories I feel like projects or things that need to be fixed fall into, and that is expensive in time or expensive in money. And you just kind of have to weigh what is going to be best for your current situation or scenario. I would say our expensive in time is usually where we lean because we save a lot of money that way, but we do go spend a lot of time doing whatever needs to be fixed. And then there's expensive in money, which saves us a ton of time, but we do have to pay a professional to go do the thing. Anytime that there's been a repair needed and a tenant reaches out, we have to kind of weigh those options if we want to be spending our time or if we want to be spending money. And I think it's different every time, but when it makes sense to hire a professional, I prefer to do that because then we don't have to drive, we don't have to spend our time and our money, and sometimes it doesn't make sense for us to do the DIY fix because we might not even fix the problem to begin with. And so then we're spending our time and we're spending money, which is never ideal. So that was kind of a long-winded way of saying that this lesson is kind of just on a case-by-case basis. I think I'm on number 6. Okay, and I'm curious for you if this is your experience too, but I think that October through December are the toughest months to rent the house. I have such a hard time getting the house rented October through December. I don't know what it is about those months. People tend to rent through September. They're here for the summer and then no one. So, sorry, I just need to get comfortable. Okay, so yeah, October through December, really hard months to rent. And my tip is, and what I've done is lower rent and or like offer some sort of special discount. So like half off first month's rent, something like that. But let me know what you do to combat that, or if you've experienced those months being kind of tougher to find renters in your area. It could just be that Seattle's kind of dreary in the winter and people don't find this a place they want to visit in those months. I don't know. Number 7 is that chasing renters rarely ever works. And by this I mean, on Furnished Finder where you go to the tenant lead tab and there's just a bunch of post about what people are looking for. It'll be like their picture, their name, their phone number is sometimes listed, and then it says that they're looking for a home near the water, or this is their budget. Or I always have tried to reach out to people. Like I'll go through and I'll see, like I'll read them and see who might be a good match for our home, and I rarely hear back from anybody. So I don't know if anybody else, have you like had success finding tenants through the tenant lead tab? I get a ton of emails too that are also linked to the tenant leads, and they have on the left it says exact match, and on the right it says, I don't know, I'll put the link, or I'll put the image here, it says like not a match or something. I've reached out to both, because sometimes I think the people on the other, like on the not matched side, like I'll negotiate our rent. So if it's just because it's like slightly out of budget for them, I'll reach out and be like, hey, we'll come down on our rent if this is a good match for you, whatever. But nobody ever gets back to me. So let me know if you've had success chasing tenants through the tenant lead tab on Furnished Finder, because I just haven't. I've always found that the tenants reach out to me, and that's how I've always found people to rent our home. And so I don't know if it's worth my time to be emailing all these people chasing potential tenants through that tenant lead portal. Also, I don't know if this counts or not, but there's this little score that you get on Furnished Finder that says 100% response rate. And I don't know if reaching out on the tenant portal is calculated into that, or if it's just a response kind of thing where I'm like 100% responsive to people who reach out to me. Let me know if you know. I don't know. Okay, number 8, I have stop chasing perfection. And by this, I just mean I really need to let the little things go. I am always super particular about the way the photos match the home. And I think in the past, like, I think it's because I'm really concerned about getting a good 5-star review. And I just want people to walk through the door and be like, this is exactly what I booked. But I don't think people care as much as maybe I do. And I need to just let that perfection go. And so, like, by this, I just mean my photographs might have teal pillows on the couch in the living room, and maybe those got ruined in the previous stay, and so I replaced them, but the new pillows are pink or something, or the new pillows are yellow. And then I'm like scrambling to try and get professional looking photos of the updated look. And I just don't think people care that much. I don't think they pay as close of attention to those details. I think what they care about is a clean, safe home to stay in. Because it's clean, I don't think that all of those little tiny details that I get hung up on really matter. Maybe I'm just so concerned about something that doesn't matter that much. So I said 9, but that was just 8. I think I'm gonna end it off here, and I'm gonna go make some dinner, but let me know how long you've been renting on Furnished Finder, if you've been renting to only traveling nurses, all of your takes on the lessons I've learned. I'm so curious what everybody experiences on this app as well. Hopefully this was a better, quicker, updated video for you. Go check out the other one if you haven't, and let me know if those lessons still resonate. All right, happy renting, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.